just want to share to you what God has shared with me a couple of years ago. And in this past few days, I see it's quite urgent that people look for answers. And they rely on sources, leaders and Google and all of that for the answers. A simple example is where the Nephilims come from. And everyone has this questions and they ask about it. Now, when I started out reading the Bible, and this was actually, I read it a couple of times before, where God told me, take your translation, this is a translation my aunt gave me, and start reading it. And believe every word you read in here like a child would believe it. And still, God do reveal, and some things are written not always in a simple context, but even then Jesus and the Holy Spirit will reveal it to you, what the context means of it and everything. A simple example, like I said, the Nephilims. If you read the part where they say the sons of God saw that the daughters of men were fair and they took of them wives. Now the sons of God there is, if you look right through out of the Bible, from Genesis to Revelation, we are referred to the children of God, and in the Old Testament to the sons of God. Simply because the Jewish, or before Jesus came, the women were seen as less important. So that sons of God is the men. The ones that chose to follow God or had the relationship with God took their own daughters as wives. And then the offspring were Nephilims, which they thought, or I don't know, maybe because of Goliath. He was also a Nephilim. But he was only 2 to 3 meters tall. If you see that as a giant, it's a bit taller than an average man. It's not that you would say, wow, they are really that extraordinary like people make them out to be. And that's according, if you take the measurements from the Bible. They didn't say he was a giant. The new translations does, and even the King James, the recent old King James versions, all refer to the Nephilims as giants. But that's because they come to the conclusion, because Goliath was a Nephilim, and he was seen as a tall man. So they made the conclusion that it must be giants, and that it must be angels. I don't know why they decided that sons of God should be angels. Never was it ever referred to in the Bible that there was a lot of times referred to as angels when Lot approached 2 angels. Now you see there it clearly says, even in the oldest translations, they were angels. So why didn't the Bible just from the start, the inspired history book, the oldest history book you can ever find, it was inspired to write down sons of God. Now the reason I think they say sons of God is because to put it in a spot, they were the children of God, and they decided to do this sin. Now you might say, but they didn't have the Bible, and they didn't probably know it was wrong. The knowledge of the tree between good and evil. Every man is born with a conscience, and it's because of what happened with that tree. We ate the tree, from the tree. Adam did. Even Jesus said when they asked him, what will happen with a man who never heard the gospel, never heard of Jesus or God, and he dies? What will happen with him? And Jesus said, that man's conscience will judge him in that day. In Judgment Day. So, every man had the conscience. And they were so close with God, they actually knew it was wrong. They saw their own daughters were nice and they took them wives. And if you see wherever incest happen, deformed people will be born. And the Jewish word, where they got the word Nephilim from, says fall. They were known as the men of fall. And some say deformed. Some people say no, the word actually means deformed. So when I read my Bible, even my Bible, when I started reading it, it said giants. The sons of man got to the daughters, and because their offspring were giants. But even at that stage, I felt the Holy Spirit tell me, no, this is not right. And then if you go to the oldest translation, it says Nephilims. So, and if you translate the word Nephilim today, it will say giant. But the Hebrew word says fall. It means fall. Deformed. So, there is a problem, especially today. Newer and newer translations are coming out. And this is a big problem, but if we intend to want to have a relationship with Jesus, we must start asking Him again. See, in olden days there wasn't Google, there wasn't all these things. This is the age of knowledge now, and people will reject what they hear from God and they will take the knowledge, because the majority and the easiest way to find answers these days is by Google and external forces, external like people, not normally forces. So I just want to challenge you, maybe that's one word I can use, to start rather, if you feel a question in your heart come up, to go to God and ask Him to direct you. I am not a professor or anything, and God directed me. And then you can say, yeah, but exactly, what makes me a reliable source? I am not a source. I'm telling you to use Jesus and the Holy Spirit. Ask the God, the Father, to give you the Holy Spirit, to reveal you these things. And it's just a couple of days I see this pop up everywhere. Everyone asking who was the giants and who did it come from? Was it angels and was it all of those? And then I remembered that was the first thing I encountered when I started reading the Bible. And that's why I'm sharing to you what God told me they were. Now if you see the flood destroyed everyone, even the Nephilims of that age, then where did Goliath come from? Now you see, Nephilim, or that word the Hebrews used, referred to them as the disformed. Now if you look at Job, when Sodom and Gomorrah, Lot, when Sodom and Gomorrah was destroyed, after that his two daughters thought there won't be any more people on the planet. They thought that was them. They made their dad drunk and they had intercourse with him. Another incest happened. So that can be the answer where they come from in Canaan, where they were thought as Nephilims, and as well Goliath. Goliath was also seen as that. So unfortunate, we're stuck at the time where we must really stick to the old information or the old Bible. They changed half of the times where it was referred to as Son of God of the Bible. They changed it to angels and heavenly beings. even where the Jews, after the sacrifice, they set themselves before God, and God came down with the cloud by Job, and Satan approached him. God asked him, where will you come from? And he said, no, I was being all over the world, here and there and up and down. And he said, did you see my servant Job? You see, this didn't play off in heaven, because they translated where they said, the sons of God set themselves before God. They translated to angels. So that gives people the idea it played off in heaven. That didn't play off in heaven. And that's what God revealed to me. And again, I say it's not what you should believe, if you feel this is not what you should believe. But what I know is God doesn't reveal one story to another man and a story to... I don't claim I have the truth. This is not what I'm saying. This is not the challenge for the point I'm trying to make. Point is, we should really start going back to the time where we are on our knees and study the Word of God, and not try to get quick access to knowledge. So thanks for listening to me, and I hope this inspires you and gives you the drive to seek God's face rather than seek people's opinion and theories. A theory will always keep you in a loop. Theories never add up. And God doesn't want us to get in a Genesis theory loop. He wants us to end up on Mark and Luke and what Jesus did. The most important part of the Bible is the whole Bible, yes. But Jesus teach us the knowledge to spread the gospel for today. God won't call us to be stuck at Genesis. He calls us to make disciples of Jesus Christ. And even Jesus says, don't be part of this debates. It's going to end up wasting time. Just move on to the person that really needs Jesus and start sharing the gospel with him. And if you stick on your knees and all of these, Jesus will give you the answers. Even he said in his word, if you don't be afraid to what to say, even in front of judges, earthly judges, of course. The Holy Spirit will reveal what to say when you are in front of them. And again, thank you for listening. Have a great day. Bye-bye.